let's start discussion of limbus stem cells. So basically limbus stem cells, as the word goes, are the stem cells at the junction of the cornea and sclera, which is called limbus. So they are specifically located in the areas which are called palisades of Vogt. Very important role of these limbus stem cells are that they basically maintain the transparency of the cornea. And how they maintain the transparency of the cornea? Because they are responsible for the regeneration of corneal epithelium. Now these are very important points regarding the limbus stem cells. Few years back they have asked about a specific marker which can basically be used in culture to identify the limbus stem cells, and remember the specific marker is ABCG2. So there it was a picture ABCD2. So similarly you can remember it like a ABCG2. Okay, this is the marker for the limbus stem cells. So what would happen if there is a limbus stem cell deficiency? So there are many causes of limbus stem cell deficiency. We would discuss that. But first of all, what are the signs of the limbus stem cell deficiency? So remember that there would be decreased transparency of the cornea. Why there would be decreased transparency? Because epithelium would not regenerate. So there would be a persistent epithelial defect. I told you when I started our session that the cornea is the outermost layer of the eyeball, the coat of the eyeball, which is not covered by the conjunctiva, the mucous membrane. Remember, the sclera is basically covered by the mucous membrane. So what happens in limbus stem cell deficiency is that the cornea basically gets covered by the conjunctiva. This is called conjunctivalization of cornea. Okay, and because there is a conjunctivalization of the cornea, the tear film can now not be there on the cornea like a regular tear film. And what this would lead to? This would lead to the dry eye. We would basically discuss dry eye in detail when we would talk about the oculoplasty. But remember, a very important sign of limbus stem cell deficiency is severe dry eye. Okay, now you would ask me, sir, why there is a limbus stem cell deficiency? So there can be both inherited and acquired causes of the limbus stem cell deficiency. The inherited causes that you have to remember is aniridia and sclerocornea. You can remember it with the mnemonic IAS. And the acquired causes, the most important one is any type of chemical or thermal injury like acid attack injuries. Okay, then use of mitomycin C. Mitomycin C we use in the pterygium surgeries, in ocular surface squamous neoplasia. We can also use mitomycin C when we are doing a trabeculectomy surgery of glaucoma. Okay, we would discuss mitomycin C also, but here remember, mitomycin C is a drug which can basically cause a limbus stem cell death, and that's why it can cause a limbus stem cell deficiency. Then any prolonged contact use. Okay, last but not the least, oculosquamous conditions like Stephen-Johnson syndrome and ocular mucus pemphigoid. Okay, so these all can basically lead to the limbus stem cell deficiency. So what is the treatment? The treatment here is that we can have limbus stem cell transplant. Okay, you can take the limbus stem cell from the other eye or from an other individual and you can do a transplant. Now it can be both autologous or it can be the allograft as well. Now if even that is not basically helping, then what you can do in that cases, what you can do is you can remove, if there is, let's say, Stephen-Johnson syndrome or chemical injury and there is a total conjunctivalization of the cornea is extremely dry, so the chances of a failure of a corneal transplant is also there. Okay, so even if you put a new cornea, that would also fail. So what we do is we remove the central part of the cornea, and just at that area we make a artificial cornea and basically implant there. This is called keratoprosthesis. As you can see in this picture, this is the keratoprosthesis. Central cylinder, transparent cylinder is there, which is basically attached to the peripheral cornea. Okay, so we can have different type of keratoprosthesis, that is not in your syllabus right now, but remember, a keratoprosthesis can be done in the cases of severe limbus stem cell deficiency. Okay, now we would discuss the next topic, that is neurotrophic keratopathy. Now when I started the discussion of corneal ulcer, I told you it can be an infective corneal ulcer or it can be a non-infective corneal ulcer. In the non-infective corneal ulcer, we have the neurotrophic keratopathy, we can have exposure keratopathy, and we can have a peripheral ulcerative keratitis like a Murren's ulcer. Now we would discuss that. So first of all, what is neurotrophic keratopathy? What happens is that in some cases, like in a viral keratitis, we have decreased corneal sensations, and these decreased corneal sensations basically is because of the damage to the sensory supply to the cornea. Okay, so it is decreased corneal sensations due to damage to the sensory supply to the cornea by the trigeminal nerve, the nasociliary nerves. Okay, so what this does is basically causes that, because there is decrease in the corneal sensation, so any waste product or epithelium, so if the pathogenesis is that any waste product or epithelium is not removed from the cornea, which is a damaged epithelium, and there is a accumulation of toxic products over cornea. Okay, what this causes is, this finally causes the neurotrophic keratopathy. So what are the causes of this neurotrophic keratopathy? You have to remember. So this basically, you have to remember that any viral keratitis like a herpes zoster ophthalmicus, and even in cases like syphilis, which can basically damage your trigeminal nerve, they can cause a neurotrophic keratopathy. Even some congenital causes like familial dysautonomia, we have anhidrotic ectodermal dysplasias, or sometimes if there is a electrocautery of the fifth nerve ganglion, the Gasserian ganglion, so all of them can basically cause a damage to the nerve supply of the cornea, which can basically cause a neurotrophic keratopathy. So the signs of neurotrophic keratopathy is, the first and the most important, as I told you, that there is decreased corneal sensations, and because of the accumulation of the toxic products over the cornea, the brightness or the sheen of the cornea is lost. Okay, and last but not the least, there would be a persistent epithelial defect. How can you treat this patient? You just have to treat the causes of the neurotrophic keratopathy, and what you have to basically do is you can basically put a scaffold or something like a rest over this cornea, and a scaffold would basically help in the regrowth of the epithelium beneath it. So what I mean is, let's say this is my cornea. I put a membrane over it, a natural membrane. I call it amniotic membrane graft. Now this basically releases many growth factors, and beneath it we can have regrowth of the epithelial cells. So my treatment is amniotic membrane graft. Okay, and if there is a decrease in the corneal sensations, there is a persistent ulcer which is going on, what you can do is you can basically close the two eyelids with a suture. Okay, you just close the margins of the eyelids with the suture, and this procedure is called tarsorrhaphy. If you can see, this is a picture where, if you can see here in the two buds, we have basically made a suture and closed the margins of the eyelid so that we can basically give rest to the cornea so that the cornea gets time to recover. So this is called a tarsorrhaphy.